Like and subscribe right now, or this spider will crawl in your face while you're sleeping. From time immemorial, the idea of giants has always fascinated humanity. Just picture it. A 60-foot tall man nearly the size of a mountain. Okay, maybe that's along the lines of folklore and mythology. The giants we're talking about are a little smaller, and they left us signs of their culture across the world. And that's why every single ancient society around the globe has some kind of legend or two about a giant race of people that once roamed, and perhaps even dominated the planet. Before the advancement of archaeology in the early 20th century, we knew very little about what we would find beneath the ground. But today, we're discovering amazing things that are really shedding a light on how mysterious the ancient world was. Scientists have found giant skeletal remains and fossilized footprints that are much larger than that of a normal human being, which leaves you wondering how they managed to survive in a world that could have felt so small for them. With that being said, let's take a look at 10 of the most mysterious discoveries of giants. Number 10. Giant footprints discovery. We kick things off with one of the most conspicuous giant discoveries on the planet. Over the years, archaeologists have come across giant footprints that have undoubtedly shocked them. The question they've all been asking themselves is whether there were giant hominids that once roamed this earth. As a matter of fact, there are numerous reports of giant fossilized footprints that have been found in continents such as South America, Africa, and Asia. One of the most commonly discussed footprints in archaeology is the Goliath footprint that was found in Mpulzi, South Africa. The footprint signified that whatever or whoever walked here was a behemoth. It measured an impressive 4 feet in length and matched the dimensions of a human foot perfectly. Just who was roaming the earth at this size? Number 9. Giant bones found in Lake Delavan, Wisconsin. And now we have giant bones right here in the United States. In fact, this is one of the most famous archaeological discoveries of giants within the American territories. According to the reports from the New York Times on May 4, 1912, 18 giant skeletons buried deep in charcoal were discovered at Lake Delavan, Wisconsin. The discovery, made by 2 Wisconsin natives, known as the Phillips brothers, was presumed to have been from the remains of an unknown race from the area. But could the entire thing have been a game? Could it have been a stunt to make tourists flock to Lake Delavan? Well, we can't be too sure. But if the specimens are legit, then perhaps the theory that giants came from another planet can't be too crazy. Can you imagine a race of giant people suddenly appearing from the sky and saying confidently, "We come in peace"? Now that would be so epic. It would feel like it came straight out of a sci-fi movie. But then again, if they're evil, then it's probably wise that you don't cross their path and just find a bunker to hide in. Number 8. The giants of the Caucasus Mountains. As we mentioned earlier, giants were found everywhere, even in Europe, and perhaps this is why there have been numerous legends and myths written about them. In 2008, a local herdsman from the Caucasus Mountains, Georgia, discovered a stone-built crypt that housed 2 massive skeletons sitting at a large table. Researchers later went into the area for them to shockingly discover that there were human remains of an individual with a height between 8 to 10 feet. While this is by no means gigantic compared to some of the fossil evidence found on this list, perhaps this individual suffered from acromegaly, a condition whereby your pituitary gland continuously produces HGH, causing you to grow uncontrollably even after adolescence. Poor fella. He probably died an agonizing death from his condition, which is treatable today with a simple procedure. Number 7. The giants located in Death Valley. The Giants of Death Valley? Now that sounds like a cool movie if you ask me. However, the story about the Giants of Death Valley isn't that exciting. In 1931, F. Bruce Russell, a former physician, announced the discovery of a series of caves and tunnels within Death Valley, in the Mojave Desert. He explored the caves and found the remains of a human skeleton that stood an impressive 9 feet tall. Now, the problem with discoveries that occurred such a long time ago was that there's not much media coverage entailing exactly what Russell discovered. But if giants really did exist in ancient times, then a series of massive caves would have been the perfect place to hide out. The question is, what were these 15-foot humanoids hiding from? Now let that sink in. Number 6. Ellucin Island's giant discovery. The Ellucin Islands is also an intriguing place where mysterious giant remains have been discovered. Ivan T. Sanderson, a popular and well-respected zoologist, was exploring the islands back in 1940 after receiving word from an engineer working there that something groundbreaking had been excavated. On the island, Sanderson found some skulls measuring 22 to 24 inches from the top to the bottom. The average skull is just 8 inches. Now, to put that into perspective, that's someone that's standing well over 15 feet tall. This begs the question, just what was a tribe of 15-foot tall people doing on this island? Perhaps these giant hominids loved to consume elk and deer. If so, they must have had to eat at least 3 deer each day to just meet the dietary requirements of their massive bodies. Number 5. Giant remains at Varna, Bulgaria. We are now back in Bulgaria, one of Eastern Europe's most beautiful countries. Varna, which is in modern Bulgaria, was once the Greek city of Odessos, an important trading hub some 7,000 years ago. In January of 2015, the remains of a giant human skeleton were unearthed. Excavators found a jar dating back to the 5th century along with the bones. This means that if giants existed, they must have had a closer relationship with us humans than we imagined. Whatever the case may be, it must have been pretty awe-inspiring to see a 15-foot man walking down the street with their weirdly tall and lanky legs. Number 4. Gigantic finger found in Egypt. Enough said about giant footprints. Now let's take a look at giant fingers that were discovered. In March of 2012, photographs of a mummified giant finger were shown to the public after a discovery in Egypt. This discovery truly shocked scientists because it opened up a can of questions on the idea that ancient giants once existed in Africa. The finger, which was 15 inches long, could mean a race of gigantic people. Perhaps these were the people responsible for constructing the magnificent pyramids of ancient Egypt. Maybe at the time. Because if you think about it, ancient Egyptians did not possess the technological advancements to construct such magnificent structures. It is either they had help from the stars or giant hominids that were the backbone of these dazzling ancient constructions. Because we don't have a time capsule to help us view the past, I guess we'll never know. But if you think about it, just below Egypt lies Sudan, home to the Dinka. In fact, the Dinka are so tall that they have been causes of villages having an average height of 6'4" for men and 5'11" for women. Could they be the ancestors of these ancient giants? Perhaps this is the only way that they left evidence of their existence. Number 3. Giant remains located in Ecuador. In 1964 in Ecuador, Father Carlos Vaca was working in hospitals when he had a group of locals from a nearby village called on him to examine something. It was a set of old bones that had been unearthed. The bones were 25 feet tall and very humanoid. They were over 10,000 years old at the very least. At 25 feet tall, these ancient humanoids probably had a difficult time living in regular villages, and whatever prey they hunted must have been done in mass so that they could just maintain their appetites. So now we've come to the best pick of the day. As you can see, this archaeologist is excavating a supposed giant skeleton from the ground. Obviously, this picture isn't real, but what makes it so impressive is that we can begin to see just how massive these 20-foot giants really were. Number 2. The Giant of Lovelock Cave. Just 20 miles south of Lovelock, Nevada, Lovelock Cave sits comfortably. The cave is older than any settlement on this continent. In 1911, David Hart and James Puh, 2 miners, went to the cave. They began digging and discovered a 15-inch long handprint on the wall, and the remains of around 60 human mummies of average height. They kept digging and found an 8 to 10 foot tall group of mummies. Now, this is very interesting because it means that at one point in time, giant people lived in practically every part of the world. Number 1. The infamous giant of Colorado River. And last but not least, we end things off with one of the most famous giant discoveries in North America. In 1909, reports from an explorer who had been rafting along the Colorado River revealed a series of tunnels leading 1 mile underground. This explorer, G.E. Kincaid, explored the tunnels and discovered giant mummies wrapped in dark shrouds. These mummies stood a mind-blowing 9 feet tall. That being said, there are still plenty of unanswered questions regarding this discovery. Could it have been just a ruse to get attention? And with that being said, we've come to the end of this video. So, which one of these giant discoveries surprised you the most? Let us know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to get more enriching video content.